Feel like you're running all the time but not actually getting anywhere? You're not alone. The fix might be simpler than you think. Marathon training can feel overwhelming, especially when you're juggling work, family, and everything in between. But you don't need to do every run to make real progress. In fact, there are just three key runs that actually drive your fitness forward. Nail these, and you're well on your way to a personal best marathon performance. In this video, I'll break down each of the three types of runs, show you how they all fit together, and give you practical tips to get the most out of every session. So if you're training for your first marathon or you just want to train smarter, stick around. Hit that like button and I'll show you how to get the most out of your marathon training. For those of you that are new here, I'm Russ, a 2:43 and soon to be sub 2:40 marathon runner. And I'm currently partway through my own marathon training block, so I can speak to everything that we're going to run through today. I'll also throw in some of my own personal opinions alongside what science has come to prove is the most effective runs that will deliver you the best results. So a quick recap is that marathon training is broken down into four main blocks: the base, the build, peak, and race phase. Now you can see much more detail on those phases in my video here, but what's important to understand is that these types of run are to be done throughout the entire stage of your marathon training block and not just when you feel like it. Okay, so now that's covered, let's get into it and start with the hardest part, speed sessions. I find this is the main part of marathon training that gets neglected, but in my opinion, it's the most important because this is what will actually make you faster. Speed sessions will build your VO2 max. So think of your VO2 max like the power or the size of your car's engine. The bigger the engine, the more power you can produce. So when you run, that power is how much oxygen your body can use when you're really pushing yourself. But here's the catch. Having a big engine doesn't automatically make you a great marathon runner. It just means you've got potential. It's basically the ceiling of what you can achieve. What also really matters is how efficiently you use that oxygen, so effectively how fuel efficient your car is. That's your running economy, which speed sessions are also great for because they help train your body to run more efficiently. And if you train to run faster than your goal marathon pace, it's naturally going to feel easier when you run the race because you've built more strength and help to increase your cadence, which is a number of steps you take per minute. So if you're able to increase your cadence to around that magic 180 steps a minute mark, your form will have improved substantially as well. And that will also feed into your running efficiency. My favorite speed session has to be 8 by 1 kilometer repeats, which are short, sharp periods of intense running, followed by a period of rest between each repeat. Here's a session that I did earlier this week, which was exactly that. They're real lung busters and intended to be done pretty much as hard as possible so that you're really stretching your maximum speed and helping build your running form and efficiency. My top tip is that you can level these up by doing them on a slight hill. Not too steep, as you still want to make sure that you're able to hit those high speeds that we're aiming for. But it will do wonders to help build your leg strength if you do your efforts on the way up and then your recovery on the way back down. So let's talk about another type of speed session, and that's tempo. And that involves running at a challenging but sustainable pace, typically for a period of between 20 to 60 minutes. So it's a comfortably hard pace. So probably in between your like half marathon and 10K pace, where you can speak a few words, but not in full sentences. I love these ones because after the session, you feel like you've had a real good workout, but you're not completely flat out exhausted, like you can be after the intervals, and it really gets those endorphins flowing. Now, these are absolutely crucial for your marathon training because it pushes your lactate threshold up and gets you used to running at faster paces, putting you in great shape for race day. I had a friend recently ask me to look over their training, and I noticed that she'd been neglecting her speed work. So after a few months and a few tweaks to her programming, she's already running all of her other sessions faster and finding that she's running much more efficiently with less effort. What's important to remember, especially with our speed sessions, is that we want to be applying the principle of progressive overload over time. Basically, what that means is that you're running the sessions faster or pushing improvement over the period of your training block. So you don't want to be running the same session every week at the same speed. The idea is that either run them faster, increase the distances, or reduce the recovery periods so that you're improving over time and constantly pushing up that ceiling. Now, as great as it would be to keep getting the benefits of near enough running flat out all the time, it's simply not possible because you just run the risk of overtraining, becoming injured, and then you're going to undo all the hard work you've done. So that's where our next run comes in, and that's the jog. I'm bringing the term jogging back because everyone knows that a jog is supposed to be super slow. Whereas if you call it easy running, some runners still seem to overexert themselves and run too fast, especially if they're feeling fresh. So jogging might seem the most simple, but in essence, this is probably the hardest run for runners to execute because it's just way too easy to run too fast. So what jogging actually allows us to do is to build our aerobic capacity and also increase our mileage, but at the same time, keep the likelihood of us burning out and getting injured pretty low. So back to the car analogy. So speed sessions are aimed at building the size of the engine and how much speed and performance you can get out of it. Jogging's all about building the size of the tank so that you can run that engine for longer. It also helps with your running economy that we talked about earlier. So think of jogging like taking your car out for a relaxed cruise around town. You're not racing anyone, you're just keeping the engine running smoothly, building efficiency without burning out the system. You're training your body to burn fuel efficiently and recover faster, like improving your miles a gallon. How you can keep the easy cruising pace is to remember that you should be able to hold a conversation without gasping for air or getting too much out of breath. And which is why it's a great opportunity to do this as a group or with a training partner so that you can kill two birds with one stone and have a good catch up. It's really important to listen to your body, especially on the days that you're jogging after some of those speed sessions, as you might not be as well recovered as you were the week before. So if you think you could be one of those that fall into that trap of jogging too fast, a good other option is to utilize a heart rate monitor and ensure you're in zone two. Now that's roughly between 60 and 70% of your maximum heart rate, which for most people would be between that 120 to 150 beats a minute, very roughly. My top tip for this one is that the longer that we run, the more we suffer from something called cardiac drift, which is essentially where over time our body has to work harder to deliver the same amount of performance. So towards the end of the run, you might find that you're having to slow down to stay in zone two, which is absolutely normal and happens to everyone. So if you have to walk, then walk. It especially happens in our final run type, and the one thing I know that you've all been waiting for, the long run. Before we jump into the long run, as always, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're enjoying my content, which a lot of you seem to be doing, so that I can bring you more practical running tips. Our community is growing fast and I love answering questions and hearing your own experiences. So in the comments, please let me know any particular sessions that you found useful in your marathon training. Okay, so back into it. And now the long run will naturally follow the progressive overload principle we talked about earlier and increase in distance as you get closer to race day. Typically, you'll be starting about 20 to 25 kilometers, so about the 12 to 16 mile mark, and topping out about 30 to 35 kilometers, so about that 18 to 22 mile mark. The main aim to begin with is just getting time on your feet, so keeping things at that slow and steady jogging pace to continue building your aerobic capacity. But as you move towards race day, it's important to start putting in some efforts at marathon or just faster than marathon pace. And you need to do that for some sustained periods to simulate what it's going to be like on the day. And that will allow you to figure out where you are in your training versus what your goal time is and what you're trying to achieve. But the long run also presents another benefit to it, and that's an opportunity to test. So back to the car scenario. Yeah, the long runs will help to continue to build your engine capacity and improve its efficiency, much like the speed sessions and jogging. But also, it provides an opportunity for you to test out everything that goes into that engine during the race, like your fueling and hydration. So imagine you're packing for a cross-country trip and you're making sure you've got enough fuel and water to see you to your destination and that you're not going to be getting any flat tires on the way there. The long runs provide a perfect opportunity to be practicing what you'll be putting into your body before, during, and after the race so that you're running it to its optimum. Mix up your breakfasts you're having beforehand so that you're feeling full but not bloated. And then aim for between 60 to 90 grams of carbs for each hour that you're out running. It's probably best to carry a water bottle on these so you can practice taking in water. And whilst it might be a bit of a pain, there are plenty of bands and straps that you can buy that will make carrying a water bottle a bit easier. My top tip for the long run is to plan. So make sure that you try and make this a consistent time every week during the block so that you can 100% commit to them. And then try not to have a packed diary in the hours after completing it to give you a bit of time to recover. Okay, I hear you ask, Russ, where do I fit this all into my schedule if I need to recover from my speed sessions and my long runs? Check out some of my other videos here where I go into much more detail on how you can fit these runs into your week. Whether you're a beginner runner planning on running 3 or 4 times, or you're an expert wanting to do 7 runs plus, there's always a way, and I've got you covered. Ta-ra.